You up for another Grayson question? Oh, you know you are. This one for Patricia Sullivan. One thing I think everybody in this room agrees with, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan Grayson has to go. But if you replace him, Patricia Sullivan, in what ways will life improve for the people who live in the 8th District?
Great question. And you know how it would improve immediately? We would no longer be ashamed to say we're from District 8. I can't tell you how many times I get asked, how on earth did you people elect Alan Grayson? And it is an embarrassment. But when we have someone who has conservative values, who understands that we have to be fiscally responsible, that we have to limit our government, that we have to support an environment where free markets can thrive, and that we support a strong national defense, those things right there are going to restore faith in our future. And that in itself, a new attitude, is going to bring restoration and an energy back to this district and across America. And I'd also like to add on, because I get this a lot too, but Patricia, you're so sweet. How are you going to go up against Alan Grayson? He's so mean. My Patriot Army knows me pretty well, and they're pretty big, and I believe that they have immense faith in my ability to do that. And just a moment ago, and I know Kurt did not mean any disrespect, but he made the comment about Bernadine and the time, and you know what I saw throughout here? Y'all went, oh, because you didn't like that. And you meant no offense, and I know that. But you know what? Because someone was attacking me. And I get this in our rapid response. Do you like it when people attack moms? No. Our Patriot Army is going to continue to grow, and it's going to be you with me that defeats Alan Grayson.
So, Patricia Sullivan, select one of your primary opponents, and let's see what they have to say about if they replace him in Congress, how life improves for the folks in the 8th District.
Dan Finelli?
Thank you, Patricia. When I go up to Congress and replace Alan Grayson, I'm going to bring up there with me the dignity and the respect that the American people expect from the congressman that works for them. That's what I'm going to do. We need jobs. Alan Grayson knows that. He has done nothing whatsoever to bring jobs back to Central Florida. All he has done is to continue to put debt on our shoulders and on the shoulders of our grandchildren. And we must, and we know we must, get rid of him. We need to take the battle to him. He's going to have it. I'm just telling you all, whoever goes to face him, it's going to be the ugliest race, because he is an evil man, and we must beat him. We must get rid of him together. And he never kept his promise. He said he's going to go to Washington, D.C., and he's going to put people in jail for breaking the law when he doesn't even follow our own Constitution.
Thank you, Dan Finelli. Now, here's another question. This one for Bruce O'Donoghue. 2 minutes. Term limits. You know, it's entirely possible that Rick Keller would still be representing District 8 if he hadn't broken a pledge for how many terms he would serve if he were elected to Congress. He said 4 would be the limit. He ran for a 5th, that and some other issues, and suddenly Rick Keller was not the District 8 representative in Washington. So on the touchy issue of term limits, Bruce O'Donoghue, my question is this. Will you promise right here and now, tonight, to make a written commitment to limit the number of terms you are willing to serve? And if so, how many terms would that be?
I would say I would not write my name to anything that would commit me to a term and a limit. And the reason is this, is that every 2 years, you can get termed out by the voters. That's number one. So if you're not doing your job, the voters will term you out immediately. The second thing is that we don't know what God's called us to do once we get to Washington, other than to make sure that the budget's balanced. But we're not sure what committees we're going to serve on. And it may be possible that after you've served for three terms or 4 terms, that you have a chance to be in a significant role in Congress and to pledge yourself out when you might have the opportunity to be chairman of a committee and really have significant influence, and you've already talked yourself out. So I think we can't do that. But I will tell you, if you can't get that job done, and somewhere between 6 to 10, you're crazy and you need to go home. So I'm not going to sign anything, but I don't expect to be there very long.
Very interesting. Now you can select a candidate on the dais here and ask them the same question. Would they sign a written promise, a commitment to limit the number of terms they would serve, and how many terms would that be?
All right, Kurt, you got the chomping bit going. You go for it.
I believe in term limits. I believe that we have to have term limits. I think it needs to be a constitutional amendment, and I think that everyone has to abide by it, and it ought to be the following. It ought to be 12 years, no more. Here's why. Folks, listen. We are the representative form of government. We are what protects the democracy. The bureaucracy is the one that you're supposed to send someone up there to fight against. If you cut it too short, if it's less than 12 years, then I will tell you what, they will wait you out and you will have empowered the bureaucracy. If it's too long, you become part of the bureaucracy. You begin to protect your own interests. I would have a 12-year term limit. Let's put it into the Constitution and say we do 2 terms for the Senate and 6 terms for the House, and I don't care how good you've done it, you're out then.
I wonder if you'd give me a little bit of moderator's privilege here. I think this term limits thing is important and it's interesting, and I think it's something that can be a deal maker or a deal breaker for a lot of voters, and I base that on feedback I get on this topic on my show. So we already know where Bruce O'Donoghue stands and where Kurt Kelly stands. Let's work down this way. Would you sign a pledge to limit the number of terms you'd be willing to serve? And if so, what would your limit be? Ross, quickly. Now, this is just, give me the numbers.
Yes, no more than 3 terms. We don't want kings. Dan
Finelli.
I definitely support term limits. I feel in the House of Representatives it should be a 4-year term, not a 2 years, because they are constantly running for office.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
Well, I want 4 years, I want 3 terms, 12-year max there, 2 terms in the Senate, 6 years max, so 12 years either one or both.
Todd Long?
Like Reagan said, concentrated power is always the enemy of liberty. It's one of the things that made this nation special. I term limit myself to 12 years, 2 U.S. Senate terms, and I'll be done.
And you're the guy who almost took Rick, well, you did, you know, who went up against Rick Keller and went up against him on that basis, and others as well, right?
Yeah, we should hold our people accountable to their promises. That's why I fought against them. I wish everybody else had as well.
Would you sign, Patricia Sullivan, a term limit pledge, and what would your limit be?
Yes, and our family has already committed. I am willing to do 2 2-year tours of duty and then come home, and our Patriot Army will help another citizen patriot go up and do what we've done.
And Daniel Webster.
Well, I'm kind of an old guy. I don't know that I could last that long.
You look like you're in pretty good shape. You may be able to go a while.
But to me, I have seen that a short-term limit is something that if one set of people like this group were under that term limit and committed to that, and yet others are not, then we will ruin our state as far as representation. On the other hand, if we were to pass an amendment and limit everyone, then I think we'd all be on an equal footing. I'd be in favor of that.
So the limit for you would be what?
I didn't have a limit until there's one that's on every other congressman there.
All right, fair enough.